A more convenient way to make real-time cross-border transactions between Hong Kong and the mainland by the middle of the year. National Security Police take Robert Chung away to assist in the investigation into the case about fugitive Chung Kim-hwa. And a Hong Kong task force meets Thai and Chinese officials in Bangkok over job scams and abductions involving Hong Kong residents. Good evening, I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. Hong Kong Monetary Authority Chief Executive Eddie Yu said local residents and mainlanders will be able to make real-time cross-border transactions in a more convenient manner by the middle of this year. Mimo Singai reports.
Hong Kong residents will soon be able to process cross-boundary transactions in a much more convenient way. As a measure to increase financial collaboration between the city and the mainland, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and the People's Bank of China are working to link the Fast Payment System, or FPS, to the Internet Banking Payment System, or IBPS. The HKMA's chief executive, Eddie Yu, said the connection will allow residents from Hong Kong and the mainland to make real-time, small-value transactions around the clock by inputting the recipient's phone or account number. Yu said the service will be enhanced over time depending on the volume of users after the linkage system's implementation. However, the HKMA has not yet announced the limit of such small-value cross-boundary transactions. Memos 9, TVB News.
Sources say Robert Chung, president of the Hong Kong Public Opinion Research Institute, was taken away by National Security Police this morning. Sources say the police action is linked to the investigation into the case involving Chung Kim-hwa, who used to be the deputy CEO of the institute and is now a fugitive. Mimo Singai reports.
Police took Robert Chung to Wong Chuk Han at around 10 a.m. They went up to the 6th floor of a building, the head office of the Hong Kong Public Opinion Research Institute, or PORI. Police officers then searched the place. By around 6 p.m., officers ended their search. They took away several boxes of evidence, as well as Chung. Sources say Robert Chung was taken away from his home this morning to assist in the investigation into the case of Chung Kim-hwa, the former deputy CEO of PORI and now a fugitive. Last month, the police offered an award of $1 million for information about Chung Kim-hwa in relation to 2 alleged offences: incitement to secession and collusion with a foreign country or with external elements to endanger national security. Speaking to the media in the same month, Robert Chung said PORI had not been in contact with Chung Kim-hwa for a while. On Facebook, Chung Kim-hwa reacted to the police action today by saying he has not spoken to Robert Chung since his departure in 2022, apart from sending greetings to each other during holidays. This afternoon, Secretary for Security Chris Tan stressed that Robert Chung is not under arrest at the moment.
This is nothing to do with any research being done by Mr. Chung or his organization. I think our whole investigation is focusing on how Mr. Chung and his organization assist the absconder, and there's absolutely nothing to do with the result of their poll.
Tan added the government has the duty to locate individuals who are suspected of involvement in offences. Mems 9, TVB News.
A task force to Thailand led by Under-Secretary for Security Michael Chung today met with officials of the Thai Ministry of Justice and the Chinese Embassy in Bangkok. Jackie Lin reports.
The task force held by Under-Secretary for Security Michael Chung met with Thailand's Minister of Justice, representatives of the Law Enforcement Department under the ministry and the Anti-Human Trafficking Committee, which is chaired by the Thai Prime Minister. In the afternoon, the task force set off for the Chinese embassy in Thailand and met with the embassy's Deputy Chief of Mission, Wu Zhiwu, to discuss ways to bring the missing Hong Kong residents home. On Tuesday, the task force will meet with representatives of the Thai government, including the Thai police, and return to Hong Kong in the evening. The Security Bureau says since the second quarter of 2024, they've received 28 requests for help involving Hong Kong people being detained illegally in Southeast Asian countries. 12 of them remain overseas with their personal freedom restricted.
Those victims, they are being lured to some Southeast Asia country under the pretense of you have a high pay, but comparatively you don't have any special skills. Actually, this is very suspicious. But I would also like to confirm that no one was adopted during their stay in Thailand.
Separately, Security Chief Chris Tang expects the city to introduce legislative amendments to list etomidate, also known as space oil, as a dangerous drug on the 14th of next month, and the new law will take effect on the same day. The maximum penalty will then be raised to $5 million in fine and life imprisonment. This, as the city's seizure of space oil recorded a 17-fold jump year-on-year, with over 120 people arrested in the first 11 months of 2024. Over that same period, the city saw more than 86,700 cases of crime, marking a 3.9% increase. More than 40,400 cases were fraud-related, up 8.7% year-on-year. Scams accounted for 46% of the cases. The rise of criminal proceeds was not as marked as a surge over the past 2 years, involving $8.52 billion. Phone scams, however, jumped to 5,168 cases, up 172%, accounting for around one-third of the total cases. The tally of online scams, making up 62% of the total, is 0.6% year-on-year. Jacqueline, TVB News.
South Korea's Nuclear Safety Agency has launched an investigation into the abnormal discharge of liquid radioactive waste from a nuclear reactor to the southeast of the country. The plant's operator said the liquid waste of a radioactive storage tank in the Wolseong No. 2 nuclear power plant in North Gyeongsang Province was discharged into the ocean without going through a sample analysis. Authorities took measures to block the leakage after finding the tank outlet valve was open. According to data from the Hong Kong Observatory, the site faces the Sea of Japan. The ocean current means the discharged water could flow towards the northern part of Kyushu and the Sanin region, around the southwest of Honshu in Japan. For the first time in 7 years, the foreign minister of Japan visited South Korea today. Takeshi Iwaya met his South Korean counterpart, Cho Tae-il, in Seoul to discuss strengthening bilateral ties. Iwaya and Cho shared a cordial handshake before the delegation sat down for talks. The two sides want to reconfirm the importance of relations in light of the current strategic environment, especially in regard to North Korea and its recent missile tests. The alliance involving South Korea, Japan, and the United States is also aimed at countering a perceived threat from China. The discussions touched on the three-way cooperation under the incoming administration of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. It comes during political unrest in South Korea after President Yoon Suk-yeol was impeached over his short-lived martial law decree on December 3rd. The war of words between Canada and the United States over tariffs and sovereignty continues. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the country's Foreign Affairs Minister suggested counter-tariffs and even cutting off energy supplies to the U.S. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has threatened 25% tariffs on Canadian goods once he takes office on January 20th. He also suggested that Canada become the 51st U.S. state. Nazvi Karim has more.
First, he threatened 25% tariffs on Canadian goods over loose border controls for immigration and the drug fentanyl. Then Donald Trump suggested that Canada become the 51st U.S. state, saying that would mean zero tariffs and lower taxes. Now, Canada is fighting back with its own trade rhetoric. Outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly hinted that things could get ugly if Trump pressed ahead with his tariff plans. Trudeau, in an interview with U.S. media, said Ottawa is ready to slap counter-tariffs on the U.S., just like they did in 2018. Back then, Trump imposed duties on Canadian steel and aluminium, with Canada then putting levies on U.S.-made items such as household appliances, bourbon whiskey and boats. Trudeau pointed out that Canada is a top export partner for more than 35 US states, and any tariff war would hurt American citizens and American jobs. The Prime Minister, who will step down in March when a successor is chosen, said Trump's remarks about Canada being the 51st US state is merely to distract from the main issue of tariffs. The 51st state, that's not going to happen, Trudeau said. It is reported that Canada is preparing a list of American products that could be targeted with retaliatory tariffs, including steel, ceramics and Florida orange juice. Jolie went further in talking about potential countermeasures. During an interview, she would not rule out cutting off energy exports to the US. Everything is on the table, Jolie said when pressed on that specific issue. Canada accounts for around 90% of annual electricity imports in the US. Doug Ford, the current Premier of Ontario, had previously threatened to cut off electricity 1.5 million US homes in New York, Michigan and Minnesota as a last resort, though he later walked back those remarks. Trump also said the US doesn't need Canadian oil, even though some data shows that up to half of US crude oil imports come from Canada. The Canadian state of Alberta exports 4.3 million barrels of oil a day to the US. U.S. Commerce Department data shows Canada buys more U.S.-made goods than any other country, valued at around $320 billion for the first 11 months of 2024. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
Croatian President Zoran Milanovic, a critic of the European Union and NATO, has overwhelmingly won re-election for another 5-year term. He defeated a candidate from the ruling Conservative Party in a runoff election, securing more than 74% of the vote. Tracy Furness has more.
Croatia's incumbent President Zoran Milanovic cast his vote on Sunday in the country's runoff presidential election. He was the overwhelming favourite to win re-election as he faced the ruling Conservative Party's candidate Dragan Primorac. Left-leaning Milanovic comfortably won the first round of voting on December 29th, leaving Primorac, a forensic scientist who had unsuccessfully run for presidency previously, far behind. In his victory speech, Milanovic reassured supporters of his position. In the matter of defence and national security, as the Constitution says, I will be the supreme commander. So not just equal, but the top responsible person and the highest ranking, he said. 58-year-old Milanovic is the most popular politician in Croatia and is sometimes compared to US President-elect Donald Trump for his combative style of communication with political opponents. On his defeat, Primorac waved and greeted supporters before telling them, as much as I possibly could, I gave my best to get citizens to know me, my programme. I offered a vision for a better, different, proud Croatia. Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković congratulated Primorac for his effort during the campaign. The runoff between the two top contenders was necessary because Milanovic fell short of securing 50% of the vote by just 5,000 votes, while Primorac trailed behind with 19%. The election comes as the European Union and NATO member country of 3.8 million people struggles with inflation, corruption scandals and a labour shortage. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Back locally, a scaffolding collapse at a construction site in Kai Tak has left at least 11 workers wounded. 2 of them sustained serious injuries. The accident happened at around 4 p.m. Located at a new development zone in Kai Tak, the site was intended to be used for the construction of a hospital. At least 11 workers on the scaffolding fell onto the ground below. All of them were taken to hospital for treatment. Some workers were trapped and had to be freed by firefighters. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. See you then.